All right. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. I know this is an extra busy time of year, and considering how things were last year, we're very thankful that it's an extra busy time of year. My name is Brandon Schumann. I'm the Dean of Arts and Humanities, and I guess tonight it's been dubbed the High School Information Night. So to start off with, if you're in high school right now, go ahead and stand up. If you're a student in high school, stand up. All right, do we have any 8th graders here? All right. Okay, if you're in 8th grade, you're already in high school at MCA, whether you know it or not, because 3 of our classes are considered high school credit classes. Grade books, Algebra 1, and Biology are all considered high school classes. So whether you knew it or not, you were already a high school student, so congratulations, you made it to high school. So like I said, tonight is called the High School Information Night. I hope tonight that you get a lot of helpful information about what the next 4.5 years looks like at MCA. But more than that, I hope you get wisdom. This world's full of information, lots of things to see and consider and weigh. But more than just being told, here's facts, I hope that you're able to gain some wisdom tonight for what the best course for your student or for your high school career looks like here at MCA. So we kind of have 3 goals with tonight. I'm going to give kind of the first 2 of just really reminding us of what our vision and our mission is here at Midland Classical Academy, and then hopefully offer some encouragement to help us see things through. And then Mrs. Gakey is going to come up and share some opportunities of different paths that different paths of what the next 3 or 4 years might look like, and different opportunities that we have. So with that, I want to begin telling the story of kind of 2 medieval stonecutters. And so there was these 2 medieval stonecutters that are just kind of chipping away and hewing some rock. And then a little child comes up and asks one of them, "What are you doing?" And he says, "I'm cutting stone. What does it look like I'm doing?" And then he turns around and asks the second stonecutter, "What are you doing?" And he says, "I'm building a cathedral." And that is very much what classical education is about. As an enterprise, what we're trying to do is we're trying to build cathedrals. And so much of the time we can get lost in just the grind and just the chipping away of stones, whether it's this class or the next revision or the next activity or a high school information night. And we can really get lost in all of just the individual steps along the way. But it's important to take stock from time to time to sit back and say, what is it that we are really after? What is it that we are really going for? And the reality is what we're trying to do is we're trying to build cathedrals. Classical Christian education is a cathedral building enterprise. It's got the long game in mind. It's not something that just gets built overnight. Hopefully it doesn't take centuries like it did in the Middle Ages, but it's a long game. That's what we're about. We're not trying to just do the quick and easy path. But instead of stones, really what our building materials are is the human hearts and human minds. It takes time, it takes sacrifice, it takes a lot of skill and devotion to build cathedrals. And we're not just looking to fill students' heads with information, but really what we're trying to do is impart wisdom and a love for things that are truly good. And just like what a cathedral's job is on earth, is to reflect heaven's likeness on earth. If you've ever been to any beautiful cathedral and just walk in, it can be very captivating. It just elevate our thoughts towards the things of God and the things that matter. And that's what we're trying to do here through developing our students and encouraging them to become the cathedrals that God's made them to be, to help them be heaven's likeness on earth. And really even more sacred than that is help them to live out the Imago Dei, the image of God that is in each one of them. And so every student at Midland Classical Academy is a cathedral. And what our job is as tutors and as parents especially is to be laborers. God is the one that's the architect of those cathedrals. It's not us. He's the designer, but what we're trying to do is be faithful with the opportunities that we have in helping these young men and women become the people that he's called them to be. And so classical Christian education is very different, as you guys know, than just your traditional education. It's far more than grades and diplomas, and grades and diplomas do matter. And we'll talk some about that a little bit later. But if that is the end, then what we're doing is really inefficient towards that end. It's a lot of work to get the A. It's a lot of work to just get the diploma. But really what we are about is character and hearts and minds and encouraging people to become more in the likeness of Christ. And so classical Christian education at MCA, as you guys know, is with our mission is engaging minds, which means it's an active learning process. It requires effort. We don't just passively go through this. Pursuing Christ and discovering greatness. And the telos, I'm going to throw another kind of Greek word out there for you, which is the purpose or the why behind things. The telos of what all education is, whether it's classical or not, is ultimately to equip people to become good men and women that can live in society and be productive members of society. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to craft good men and women that honor God, that know what is true and right, that love what is good, and that have the eyes to see what's beautiful that the world just so quickly discards. And so with all of those things, I mean, that's a sacred task that God's called us to. It's a sacred task, students, that God's called you to as you're stepping into this endeavor and participating with us and all of us trying to become more like Jesus. But the second part that I want to encourage you with is give you some encouragement, moms and dads especially, is that this endeavor really requires you. And at MCA, we believe that parents are the primary educators. It is God has said it is your job, moms and dads, to raise up your children in the fear and admonition of the Lord. We're here to help, but it's this sacred burden of parenthood that God's given you, and that is your task to do. And what we're here to do is to help in that way. And so, in order to do this endeavor rightly and biblically, when you've enrolled your son or daughter here at MCA, whether you knew it or not, you really enrolled your family, because it's a team and it's a family effort. And what MCA's role, what my role, this guy behind the jacket, what my role is and what the other tutors' roles are, is to help you in this task. And so I've said before that just like with the Lord of the Rings, where Frodo's given this ring and he's given this task and has to take it all the way to Mount Doom. Hopefully the metaphor breaks down at some point, right? But like this is Frodo's task to carry that ring. And what we are is we're Gandalf, we're the fellowship, we're there to help you carry that burden. But this is something that God has called you to do. He's going to hold you, mom and dad, accountable one day when you stand before Christ. And he's going to say, how did you raise my child? What did you do with the time that was given? And how did you raise them? And so that's a really daunting task. I think about that with my own kids and how often I fail in that task and need to ask for forgiveness. But what we're here to do is to help you in that task, because it is a challenge and it is a struggle, especially in this day and age with the current going so against the things that God calls us to. And with that end, as a side note, I mean, this last year has been a crazy year, and it has been exceedingly difficult to do a lot of the things that we normally do, like with our routines. It doesn't excuse us from our faithfulness, but one of the difficult challenges that has been universally felt throughout the world during the last 12 months has been community. And we're thankful that we're beginning to come out of that lack of community And as far as MCA's communication and community, I mean, we really thrive in community. And so as tutors and as a staff and as leadership of the school, it felt like we just kind of played that Hamilton track on repeat, Stay Alive, for the last 12 months of just what do we need to do next, what's next, what's next, what's next. But in that, we may have failed one of our responsibilities of just communicating with you, Mom and Dad, and helping you feel more a part of the process, because really you are the process and we're here to help you with that. And so if for any reason you felt out of the loop, I want to apologize and say I'm sorry that you felt out of the loop, and let you know that you are welcome to come up to the school, to ask questions, to be reminded of the why, and be given some of the vision so that we can help you in the job that God's given you. So you are always welcome. And as one of our brand promises at MCA, we want to partner with parents to develop Christ-like leaders. And so with all of those things, don't forget the noble task that God has called you to do. Don't lose heart and don't lose hope. Don't grow weary in doing good, because in due season you will reap all of the good things that you're sowing as you're honoring God. And so don't forget that what you're doing is that you're really building cathedrals. And so with that, Mrs. Gakey is going to come up here, and she's going to share some things about the stones. And these are important stones, because you can't build cathedrals without stones. So.
I want to reiterate, just thank you all for being here tonight on another windy night in West Texas. Again, I'm going to talk more about the nuts and bolts, the nitty-gritty of high school, getting into high school. If you've been here, started here in 7th grade or came in 8th grade, then you just kind of are learning how to exercise freedom. You students are, you parents are learning how to allow your students to have that freedom. And just to manage their time and their relationships and so forth. But then we, like you said, like Mr. Schumann said, we get into 8th grade, we start earning high school credits. And so we just kind of want to give you a vision for these next few years. First of all, just to piggyback on just the value of you parents, your role in your student's life and the value you bring to MCA, is I just want to just to make sure you know that you are your student's guidance counselor. We don't have a guidance counselor who's going to, get your kid from high school into college. So you have that role, and don't be scared of that role or anything. You're equipped to do it. But our role is to give you the information that we have available about your student when that time comes at the end of their junior year, going into their senior year. So just kind of tuck that back in the back of your brain of just, when junior year comes and we start looking forward to college and the next season of life, that's going to be your role in your kid's life. And to help with that, each one of you should have gotten, it's not labeled this, but it's called our high school profile. So it's the colored document that's two-sided. So if you flip it over on the back, this is just an overview of the graduation requirements. And what that means is when your student if they start in 8th grade or even 9th grade, and they're on track in math and science and all their courses, and they master their classes from year to year with an 85 or above, then when they get to their end of their senior year, they will have all these 28 credits completed. And they will be given a transcript that will be accepted by universities all across the U.S. So I just want to reassure you that. We have a different model. There's a lot of things that are very different about us, but we meet all these requirements. We meet the standard that universities and colleges and employers are looking for in young adults. And again, it starts in 8th grade. So those of you in 8th grade, your Algebra 1, your Biology, and your Great Books 1 are all your beginning of your high school credit courses. So those count. Then depending on your interest and your skills and your goals, if you flip back to the front, each one of you has the opportunity to add to all of those credits and all those classes, and that is through different honors and awards that are available to you. You don't have to do them. They're your choice. It's whatever fits your giftings and your skills and your goals, whatever fits your family. But you have the opportunity, as you students know, to start participating in Mastery with Honors projects, which would then, if you complete 12 of them from 8th through 12th grade, then you can graduate with honors. And I won't go through all the details there, but all those things are available for you. A new opportunity we have is our STEM endorsements. And again, I'm not going to go through all the details, but if your student is interested in doing math and science and robotics types of Mastery of Honors projects in those areas over the next several years, and take a concentrated, especially when they hit their senior year, a concentration of advanced sciences and advanced math, and participate in robotics as an extracurricular activity, then they can earn that STEM endorsement at the end of their season here at MCA. That's that separate document. If you just read over it. If you have questions, I would encourage you to talk to Mr. Perea, who is over our Math and Sciences department. He'd be able to give you more details about that. And then our service awards. If you're interested in earning those awards, and that's a value you as a student have and your family has, then I encourage you to begin working on that. Just doing volunteer hours here at school, service hours, doing service hours in the community, and to add to just your time here at MCA. And that doesn't include your midday and afternoon duty. That's something, it's kind of like, you're expected to brush your teeth every day. You're not going to get paid allowance money for that. Same thing for midday and afternoon duty. It's an expectation. So for everybody. So that's just how you can kind of add to what we already have. Another detail, I know those of you that are in 9th grade, I'm pretty sure I emailed you all earlier in the semester about PE. And just if you're not familiar with this, we don't have a set PE class. You earn a PE credit if beginning anytime between 9th and 12th grade if you participate in an athletic activity here at the school. That can also be being a manager of a team. It could be doing media, helping Mr. Littleton with media for athletic events. But if you're not interested in that, we have students who are gifted in ballet, horseback riding, karate, things that we don't offer here but are physical activities, then you can talk to Mr. Littleton, talk to myself to get approval to get your PE credit outside of school. But there is a documentation that you need to follow through on that. So that is, if you are participating in athletics, we're keeping track of that, and we'll touch base like your junior year to make sure that credit is documented for your transcript. So that's one additional thing. Another thing I want to just reiterate what Mr. Schumann said is just that our core value of family. Again, that's why you are invited here today. We could sit there and meet with your students and talk to them in class, but we want to make sure you parents that everybody's on the same page. As you've seen, your kids now in 8th, 9th, and then they're going to be going into 9th and 10th grade. As we give our kids more freedom, with greater freedom comes greater responsibility. And so parents, your role is changing. It changed from 6th grade to 7th grade, from 7th grade to 8th grade. And it should, hopefully it's changing. It should be changing. You should, if your student is taking responsibility in their freedom, then you should be letting looser and looser and giving them more freedom and more responsibility as they grow and as they mature. But parents, you're still needed in your student's life and in the life of the school. You're still valued, but your role changes. It changes from, really parenting and from leading to more coaching and correcting and advising. And so it changes over time. And And so I want to reiterate exactly what Mr. Schumann said, is parents, you are still welcome here. And you're invited to partner with us throughout, all the way through 12th grade. But it will look different depending on the age of your kid. It happens in different ways. The communication is vital here. And if you have not already, if you students haven't already started making practice of going and speaking with your tutors, meeting with your tutors, even if it's a simple, like, you missed one problem and you don't understand it, just start building those relationships, start practicing having those conversations with adults one-on-one, and it'll build your confidence. If you're scared to death, then maybe talk to your parents about it. And parents maybe sit there, and I think sometimes we assume they know how to go and talk to another adult one-on-one, but maybe we need to sit at the dinner table. I know I've done this with my kid. Okay, here's how you say this. Here's what you say. I mean, my oldest daughter is 20 years old, and she still will send me text messages, on how, applying for a job. How does this sound in replying to this? So just do that coaching. You don't do it for them, but you coach them to gain greater confidence and greater independence. And I will say, if there are issues that arise within your students and relationships with tutors and classes, don't put that off. Encourage your student to go and talk to the tutor first. Then, if that hits a wall, then you as a parent go with the student to meet with the tutor. And then if that doesn't work, then meet with a dean over that department. And if that doesn't work, then you contact the administration. But it's really building those relationships over time, and building trust and having those communications, building those communication skills. You're modeling for your student and modeling for your kids how to resolve conflict, how to work through issues, work through struggles, how to build a work ethic, and just how to. We're raising our kids to become adults, to leave the house, to become their adults and live on their own, and that's our goal. And so we have to equip them in these years. That's the value of these years. And this school is set up in a perfect model to do that, because we allow you to come in and partner with us, both at home with your kids, but here at the school. This is just kind of a side note, and maybe it's because my kids are junior and senior here at school, is the volunteering. Maybe there will be some years in there, like especially your junior year, I'll kind of back up. Like every year, your kids, as they get more responsibility at school, there's also, like I said, the responsibilities kind of shift. So your students during their sophomore and junior year, and it'll happen here on Thursday, they will start interviewing to become RT leaders, to become senior assistants. And those years will look different. And also when your students get into their junior year, there's one thing we kind of set up is that we ask our parents their junior year to volunteer a lot more to help with all the events that go on for the seniors of that year. So like to help put on graduation reception, to help host night, and all these different events. And it's done that way, that junior year for those parents, so that when your student hits their senior year, you can just enjoy your kid being a senior and enjoy that time, and that knowing that the junior parents behind you are the ones who are serving. So that's just kind of something to keep in mind. Are there any questions about any of this that I've shared with you, or Mr. Schumann has shared, or anything? So. Questions? Yes. Okay, the question is, do they get a high school diploma or a high school credit or a transcript? They get a high school diploma. If they finish all these credits, they get a diploma. The document that is sent on to like colleges and universities is called the transcript. So that's where it lists everything out. So, yeah. And one thing we've been working on is to make sure that transcript, even though our model and our courses look different, we've been trying to work on to make sure that the way it's labeled, that it's readable for colleges and universities. They don't know what great books means, so it's just trying to make sure those things translate when that time comes and they go on. But it's the document, but they do get a diploma if they meet all those requirements, yes. Any other questions? Yes?
STEM endorsement new, and then if they start participating in that, what value does it bring?
So yes, it is new this year. So we've been working on it. I think it bring, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. So the it would, and we haven't quite worked out how we're going to put it. We'll put it on their transcripts. They can put it on their resume. So I think it's for those kids going on to university, wanting to do work on, getting degrees in engineering, science, math degrees, especially higher level, and it may show the just the extra work that the student has done. So it may, if they're put up against another student who has the same credits, it may, elevate them or make them shine a little bit brighter than another student they might be put up to. So, but it's just to give them credit for the work that they're doing and the extra work they're doing to raise the bar. Do you want to? Yeah, great. And that's really if that's their giftings and what they're interested in, and because it's going to take extra work, but if that's what they value and what they want to put their time into, then it's recognizing that work and giving them the credit they have earned for that. So, other questions? Mr. Chu, you want to have any closing thoughts?
Heavenly Father, God, we thank you so much for the life that you've given us. We thank you for the opportunities that we have to serve you and to know you and to become like you. Lord, I pray that your blessings would continue over MCA, that it would continue over these families and these students as we strive to engage our minds, pursue your Son, and discover the greatness in your kingdom, which is offered to us every day. Lord, I pray that you encourage and equip these parents to live out to their sacred calling that you've given them to raise up these young men and women in fear and admonition of you. I pray that you give these students strength to not lose heart in the midst of so much academics and activities. Lord, I pray that you help us tutors not lose sight of the calling that you've given us. Lord, help us to see that we are building cathedrals for your glory and not just simply cutting stones. And it's in your Son's name that we pray these things. Amen. Oh, yeah. I don't have anything else to say. I'm out of words. I'm an introvert. Okay, so this is, we have 3 we're drawing? Okay, we've got three things of swag that we're going to give out. So, based on what we picked. So, first up is Julia S. So, all right.
I'll get him out in a second.
All right, Chauncey Linderman. Booyah. And last but not least is... All right, Gray Langto. All right, there you go. So you can come up and get your swag, and the rest of you guys are dismissed. I'll be standing around if you have any questions, and so will Mrs. Gakey. Thank you guys so much for coming out tonight, and have a great